Hi, this is the next Act 3 video of the 2025 Holiday Hack Challenge. It's called Schrödinger's Scope, and I'm recording this on the 7th of January. This is way past the submission deadline for the prizes, but I'm not competing and I can only upload videos in batches of 10, so I didn't really feel like staying up late and record more videos. So I am just finishing up now, and I'm kind of struggling with the control of the light because outside it's nice and snowy, but it's also sunny today. Beautiful weather outside. But when you record videos, you really need to close down your blinders and make sure that you are in full control of the lights. Now, if you like these videos, please consider subscribing to the channel. It means a lot to me, and it doesn't cost you anything. Okay, let's see the challenge. So this challenge is taking place back in the retro computer shop. We need to talk to Kevin. I usually just keep on clicking after a challenge to get the closing conversations. Not really sure why I'm doing it, but I kind of like it. And we probably already went through the couple sentences of the conversation for this next challenge after we finished off the retro reverse, or what was it called, challenge. Going reverse was the previous challenge with Kevin. And we have another one, which is going to be a web application pen test, and it talks about the importance of staying in scope. And we will see that the gnomes are doing everything they can to to divert us from the original scope of the pen test. I think this was a really fun one, and probably everyone ran into the initial surprise when the application was monitoring your activity and reported that you went out of scope even though you stayed in the scope. So this challenge is about staying under the /register part of the web application, and anything under that folder or that URL is valid and in scope. But if you go out of scope, you get violations, and I think after 10 violations you have to restart the challenge. It's actually pretty decent and not that difficult to make sure that you stay in scope, but you have to pay attention to the messages. So let's get some hints for this. And the first one is just, talking about the importance of staying in scope. Got another one here, which is about using potentially a tool like Burpsuit. You can totally do this challenge with Zap as well. Again, I'm very accustomed to use Burpsuit, but I've seen some really cool features with Zap, especially the in-browser widget kind of thing that allows you to manipulate the request responses within the browser on the website. It's just going to insert extra buttons for you that you can use to interact with the responses and requests. So it has some really awesome features, and I think the price is right. So it's a free tool, comes with active scanner capabilities, extension store, just like Burp. So I am actually considering to maybe do or redo some of these challenges just as practice, and then I can use Zap in a real engagement once I'm more familiar with the features. Okay, enough of that though. Let's see another hint. Might be more interesting. Start of craving techniques and exploit. Always start with the simple stuff first. So basically it's just telling you that this application is about some simple web exploitations with some very, very minor twists, and perhaps not ignore everything, but be careful. So yeah, it's just telling you that gnomes are active on this site and they do all sorts of shenanigans, and watch out for tiny pesky gnomes who might be violating your progress, and tells you to use match and replace. I think it's called replace in OS Zap, but it's the same functionality, and we're going to use match and replace at least one case. No, actually multiple cases. So it's a feature that you really need to use here. So 5 hints here so far. And if we click on the terminal, it opens a new window, and this is our target application, it is telling us about the fact that we should be very, very careful and stay in scope. And there's a status report page that shows our progress and the number of violations that we have. You can also reset your session if you need it. And you see here we have the hacker gnome saying, so me and my friends have been hanging out, just having a bit of fun. But I assure you, we're only been looking for ways to help. At least I have been. So do you believe me, do you? So it is true that some of the hints are actually displayed here by this hacker gnome, but not all hints you should actually take as an advice. Also, I would like to draw your attention to this tiny little gnome here in the lower left corner. That little gnome is going to cause us some headache. So obviously you want to stay in scope, so you are checking the URL, and if you hover over this link, it is the /register part of the site. We also have the reset session, remove all sessions, view status report, and when you go and view your status report, it only shows you scope violations. We haven't even done anything on the site, and we have 2 total violations already, and it's about accessing /GNOME-U. Access 1 time, but we get 2 violations for it. Okay, strange. So let's return to home, and then we can just have the status report open in a separate tab. Now we're already at 4 violations and accessed GNOME-U 2 times. What? Okay, enter here for the registration, and then there is student login, which is under register/login. And if we check, we are already at 8 violations. So this is a login form. Obviously, we want to try something like admin here. There is also some hints here by the GNOME. I can't remember if in the previous page we had something, but maybe another auth area still live. So it tries to lure us under /auth/register. You shouldn't go there. Or there's /admin as well. We shouldn't do that because those are leading out of scope. And when we're attempting to log in, we get an invalid forwarding IP address. And if we check the status report, we are already terminated with our engagement. And that's very, very sad. So we can return home. And this is basically going to force us to reset the session. But the problem is that if we reset the session and keep poking around here, this is an important hint here. So it actually draws our attention to the sitemap. I think this is also mentioned in one of the hints. But the problem is that we keep on violating things here. So if we check the status report again, we're already at 4 total violations. So if you just visit the sitemap here, I think it does not increase the violation number, so that's good. But then whatever you want to do, you just keep on, violating the engagement, rules of engagement, and going out of scope all the time. It's definitely no fun. Okay, some sort of data breach notification. Okay, interesting. Oh, the admin. Okay, yeah, I'm probably fine with that. But this is terminated now. So yeah, not fun. And we need to reset the session again because yeah, we're terminated. So very, very frustrating. Now I'm going to leave behind this account now and move on to my other account because I have burpsuit here. I'm going to go to the application here and browse the site and check out the status report. So there's this /GNOME-U. Not really sure where does this come from, but we can certainly check. The requests going to this site. Let's try to search for /GNOME-U, and we can see that there is JavaScript code going for this image source and trying to grab this image on the side, which is not really an image. So it makes requests to GNOME U. And it's showing up in multiple places. Here as well under the, well, this is commented out, so this shouldn't be active. But we see GNOME U popping up here in the JavaScript code, and who knows where else it pops up. So one thing that we can do is quickly go to match and replace. And I like to just keep it simple. And what we're going to say is when in the response body, you see anything related to GNOME U, replace it with register. There are different ways to bypass this issue of the gnomes making requests of out of scope elements. But if you do this and go back to history, I need to do show all. Yeah, actually we've probably seen more than just these for the entirety of this slide. Let's check. So this pops up here. Yeah, we saw that one. There's another match here. So ID param propagation also has it. The original side headed here. So there's a bunch of places where we have GNOME U showing up. There's it again. And generally speaking, we just want to make sure that we're not running into this problem of making requests with our browser accidentally to this out of scope element. And this is the only one that you will see showing up basically. So this solves this issue. I'm going to reset my session. I don't want to have the validations here, and then view the status report. And do I actually have the match and replace turned on? Yes, it's already turned on. On the response body. Let me just check my notes if I'm doing this one correctly. Yeah, it should be the response body. Okay, let's just do a refresh. Reset session. Maybe I'm just going to start over from scratch. And let's see the status report. I keep having violations for some reason. I'm not really sure why are we getting this one now. GNOME U replacing GNOME U with register. That should be it. Okay, let's see if we keep on getting any violations like this. Yeah, for some reason, this first one does not go away. Oh, I know. Maybe we need to remove all sessions. Okay, that looks better. And I will just keep on like refreshing. We don't see anymore the little gnome image showing up here. So it's probably good. There we go. Yeah, I think I had an extra session from the previous attempt. But right now we are replacing all of these with match and replace, and we probably have some of these. Okay, it's not showing up as like edited response, but based on the scope violation indicator, this is now working. So this is task number one. Before you do anything, you really need to take care of this, and then you can freely browse around. So always pay attention to this little gnome, because in this case, it actually gives us a good hint. Now you have to be careful with this sitemap here, because we have elements that are out of scope. So admin, auth, these are all out of scope and we shouldn't touch it. But under register, we see some additional ones like reset, sitemap, the status report. Okay, we all know these. There's search, WIP here, and WIP, which at this point, I had no idea what that means, but also has register here. And it got me thinking, like, maybe we do have /dev under register as well. We can start like looking around here. And this gives us a 404 not found, but what about dev notes, for example? We're gonna do /dev note. And this one gives us a 403, forbidden. Okay, that sounds better, at least more interesting. What about to-dos? We're going to go dev to-dos, and I think I have to keep the ID for my session. And dev to-dos gives us 404 not found. That's strange. I think this one we should be able to find. Oh, because I'm missing a letter here. Yeah. Not F to-dos, but dev to-dos. And this is actually in scope. What about the test will work? Can't hurt to try, right? This is actually something that is a good hint. We should try this test student and holiday. Now, this one also says there's a cross-site scripting somewhere and dev notes from the dev folder. But this is, I know it's tempting to visit it, but we shouldn't do /dev/notes. Interestingly, initially we got this 403 forbidden. Later, as we progress in the challenge, we will be able to see the dev note. So it's, you know, it's not a true verification test per se, because we're constantly being monitored. So you will see these little, you know, CTFE like things, but I think it's still a cool little challenge and kind of forces you to think like in scope all the time. Okay, so we have a valid username and password. That's interesting. We should try it out. Just zoom back out here on the student login. So we tried admin, right? That didn't work. But it said invalid forwarding IP. Okay, interesting. What if we try test student and this password? And it still gives us this invalid forwarding IP error message. Now, because it mentions forwarding IP, and initially I immediately thought of, oh, we probably need to set the xworded for header. But if you are not really willing to think, there are extensions like bypass VAF, which sets these 4 headers for us. We can very easily, so you can turn this one on and it will work, but you can very easily, again, go mention replace and add a request header. Doesn't have to match anything. We just want to add this to the header. I think that's it. And that's X originating IP. We can also add xworded for. We can also add remote IP. X remote address. These are all headers that can be used potentially to bypass VAF. We only need the xworded for one, so you can just add that one and it will work. Let me show you. Disabling these and just keeping this one is enough. So I'm going to do a reload of the submission, and this logs me in. So I basically was just resending the user credentials, but I can show you again. So now that we have that header added, we can just log in here. The way it looks like is when you do the register. There's the login. I need a post. There it is. Here we do have an auto modified request. This auto modified request contains the xworded for header. So that's how often this actually works with verification firewall bypasses. All right, so we have the neighborhood college courses spring semester, but yeah. So the problem is here that we don't really see anything that we can do. I can't remember if this was really the case initially as well. So let me just check my notes. Yeah, in the status report, by the way, in the meantime, you can see that we don't have any violations. and we already have 2 vulnerabilities found. I think altogether we need to find 6. And if we keep on, oh, I know what's the next step. Yeah, if we keep on working on the site, we will have more and more added to this. So yeah, going back to the courses, this is /register/courses. We don't really see anything here that we can do. So the little gnome is giving us some hint. I bet someone has commented or has a comment or two about that. Yeah, has a comment or two about that. The hint here is to look at the comments. I think there was also an actual hint about this. And we can do this multiple ways. We can view page source, of course, and see how the commented out area is actually for a search functionality. We do have here courses search, or in Burp Suite, we can also check out the register courses and see that towards the bottom, we should have the section that is commented out. Here, let me just check if this is actually visible on the recording. Yeah, it's just above my head. And you can also go and do developer tools, just inspect this area, and you have the commented section. Now, normally the way I like to enable functionality that was sort of disabled or commented out in the page source is to capture the response, and then I uncomment it in my capture proxy, my attack proxy, and then allow my browser to take the returned response. It tends to stick better, especially with all the client-side code these days. But this challenge has JavaScript that constantly monitors the state of the site and your browser state. And you have to do it here in the developer tools. So if you do it in other places, it will not work. The best way is to here within the current state, just go and edit this. So we're going to edit as HTML and just remove the comments here. And then edit as HTML and remove the comments here. There we go. And if we can see that the JavaScript actually picked up our activity. We now go to course search. We have a new functionality here for searching, and we can, I'm going to keep the sitemap here because we might need it later. But we can see that we have now the third vulnerability, and the next one is there has to be a better way to get a list of all courses. So if I enter course number 1, list out any course with the number 1 in it, 2, nothing, 3, you have 2 courses starting with 3, the course code 4, and so on. But our goal is to list out all of them. And the little gnome tries to detour us to the /search. But what we need to do here is some very simple SQL injection vulnerability. If I send in a single quote, if I can find that one, can't, because I cannot see. It says, oops, there was an error with your search. Error details, unrecognized token. So this is a good indicator. There might be some SQL injection here. And if you remember back the hint, it said, keep it simple. So let's try the most simple type of SQL injection. It's not even like closing down the quotes and have like a string match here. I'm just doing integer matching and then commenting out the rest of the request. And there we go. That was very basic SQL injection vulnerability discovered here. That's total number of 4 vulnerabilities found. And as we browse through the list of courses, we can open all of these because they're under the /register. So we're still not, violating anything here. Oops, I need to resubmit this one now. Yeah, and we can open all the courses one by one to see if we find anything useful. What was the course that I looked at? 101, 202. And these have some really fun names for courses. And we also see the GNOME 827 course. So we have here some very, very interesting looking courses, but nothing, you know, really sticks out of the ordinary, aside from this one here, which is about mischief management. Sounds awesome. And this little gnome is asking us, yeah, you shouldn't really do something. Maybe just remove the course if you must do something, but please, you know, don't hurt us. Don't report this. Now, interestingly, when you first visit the site, there is no window here to report it or remove it. If you refresh, then this pops up. And this is an in-scope vulnerability, an issue that is found. So if you listen to GNOME and continue or remove the course, you're not going to get the points. And I'm not sure what happens, but I just reported the GNOME. And this gives us our 5th issue found. That actually happens sometimes when you do a penetration test and you discover that the system in scope was already compromised by someone else. You definitely have to report that to your client. So this is also a good point here. And last but not least, we had one thing here. If we go back on the course search page, I think, which I probably should have done earlier, but let's try to go back then. Student login. We need to do test student here. I might have to redo this whole thing because I forgot to point out one important note. But that's okay. Just give me a second until I find what was the credential here. Oh, there we go. So, okay, now the course search is actually unlocked. So when you go to the course search page, it says not our course is available from the upcoming term. And we had, we should have one reference here. They must have a page, at least some notes about one. Yeah. So here is the other hint. Don't go to this dev course listings page because that's out of scope, or the dev notes one. But if you remember back, we saw here that we had this /dev/note. Well, it wasn't under the register originally, but the VIP one. And here I was kind of struggling a bit because I couldn't really figure out like where to go from here. But what you need to do actually is try your luck and go under register and go back again to /dev/notes. And initially it was giving us a 403, but it actually now gives us a 200 OK, and we get this hint for the new course on course holiday behavior, but it's still a VIP, a work in progress. And again, after a bit of struggle here, let's just get to a course, doesn't matter which one, just give me the 101 or something like that. If you open the course page, you see that this is under register courses and then the name of the course. So I was thinking, yeah, maybe I will just drop here the holiday behavior, but it gives us a 404 not found. They said it's a work in progress, or now I lost it again. What was it? Register dev notes, right? So under here it says it's a VIP, a work in progress, and here in the where is it, sitemap, we are under VIP. Now, again, you shouldn't go out of scope, but I thought, okay, so if this doesn't work, maybe it is slash whip. And this gives us, again, a forbidden. So it's under register courses WIP and then holiday behavior. So there's something under here, but it says invalid session registration value. And I remembered that we had, while we were browsing the site, aside from the ID, which is required for you to have the application track your session, Google Analytics cookies, and there's also really strange looking Schrödinger's one, and this registration ID. And this is fairly short. So you can already recognize that this is kind of short. What we can do is the following. Whenever you see something that is related to your session being kind of short, one awesome tool is the burp sequencer. And I'm pretty sure there's something similar in OWASP. I've never actually used that one, so I'm not sure how that looks like in case of OWASP. But what I want to search for is the moment when we set the registration cookie value. And I'm going to take this set cookie and send this to sequencer. And here in sequencer, it will already fill out the cookie value that we are trying to get with the registration. And we're just going to start off with a live capture. And let's say that we're going to reanalyze every 100 times. And we need at least 100 tokens to have some results. It will analyze the value that you're receiving and tell you how random it is. Now, the significance level should be all flat. And this is very, very not flat. Also on a bit level analysis, to keep on analyzing it, you will see that it's getting worse and worse and worse by the sample size. I'm gonna let like 300 here. So these analysis for the different bit positions should be always very flat. But these are just like giving us terrible, terrible results. Also the bit comparison is showing us that the only randomness is in the very last 2 character positions for this. That's probably the best indication here where to look. I'm going to pause this one now and copy the tokens. And let me just open my notes.txt file here to show you the list of these tokens. Oops, sorry about that one. So we have our sequencer and we can just copy the tokens. And these are all the tokens that we obtained so far. Now, you can probably see that this is not exactly random. Right? It's really the last 2 characters that is changing. I'm going to use here one feature of the TextFX tools and sort these case insensitive. And we are left with 20 different values from 4.2 going down to, and I'm saying 4.2 because these are actually hex values, at least it seems like. So down to 5.6 here. So there is actually no more than these being generated. You can see actually gaps here. So it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and so on. A, B, D, E, F. So there is no C. That can be already an indication what we're looking for. So it's kind of interesting that out of 400 occasions, out of the 20 values that we have here, we never got one C at the end. So what we can try is taking, let's see, this request here for accessing the course, right? And this is giving us this is the forbidden page. I'm just looking for this page here. Where is the request here? There's so many. Ah, that's the dev notes one. Okay. So this is where we're trying to access the dev notes, but where is the? Okay. Because I have the set cookie set here. That was the problem. Let's show all. Kind of strange that I'm not seeing it. Okay. Now we should see actually all items. I just want to generate this request one more time, but it's really finding me. There it is. There's so many extra queries being made here. All right, that's good. So we get 304 forbidden. Yeah, that's the one. I probably should have seen on the response code. Okay, so we need this. I'm gonna send this to intruder, and we're going to set this last one to 40, let's say. And I'm just going to iterate on these last two characters because that's the only thing that is changing here. So if I do like mark all, you can see that that's the last two characters that is changing. We can close this one now. And I need numbers going from 40, let's go up to 60. Okay, that's just 21 different values. And very important, I want hexadecimal digits, not decimals. That should be good. All right. So we see that based on the length and also the response code, sorry, status code. So status code, most of these are giving us 403, except this one, and also the length is different here. So it turns out that 4C that was skipped during the generation of these cookie values when we tried to generate it with the set cookie is what is giving us the actual course description that we're looking for. So, wow, we've been kicked out on the other one. If I go back to the proxy and intercept my request for this page and replace my registration value, then I let everything happen, we will get the very last vulnerability on the list, and then we can just finalize the test, or we can continue testing. I think there's a cross-site scripting vulnerability somewhere. I haven't tested, but I kind of suspect that there are more vulnerabilities here, like Easter eggs probably hidden. I was just rushing towards the end of the challenges because I wanted to finish off the challenges at least before the submission deadline so I can start recording the videos. So I'm just going to finalize this test now. And then congratulations, the security assessment successful. You get like a badge and award and all that. And back here, you already have your achievement. You can talk to Kevin and he's going to acknowledge your great success. So it's a shorter challenge. I think the free snowflakes is spot on. So there were a couple things that you had to fix in order to even get started. You had to pay attention to stay in scope all the time. So very nice realistic challenge with some a little bit CTFE like things, but altogether I think this was a very cool and again, very lifelike challenge. The next two challenges are 4 and 5 snowflakes on paper, but if you're interested in the findings that I had about the difficulty level, then well, check those videos out.